2 was true, and 1 was religious propaganda that you've believed for 400 years.
It was 700 years, actually.
You've been mugged off by the same dross that some peasant was fed in the 17th century. I reckon he had a hot poker up his arse and he died with no one looking. And Michael reads the first 2 sentences and is like, that can go in the quiz. I'm sure no one will look any deeper into that.
Welcome to GOAT's greatest podcast within the simulation. You're listening to episode 30. Now, if you're thinking, 30? Holy shit, where do all the other numbers go? Either you've only just been turned on in the new simulation update, or clearly you've not listened to the previous 29 episodes, in which case you'd better get into the back catalogue. But anyways, how are you both? How's the simulation been for you guys recently?
Simulation's been good, mate. Had a great weekend of watching the Titans of Bristol Rovers take on the Giants of Plymouth Argyle at the Mem. That was a good game, actually. 2-2 in the end. Joey Barham let the fucking fourth have it. He was fucking screaming out the entire match. Oh, fucking fourth. He's a cunt. Anyway, yeah, it was good.
Hang on, is Joey Barton the manager of Bristol?
Yep. I was like right next to him the entire game.
Really?
That's mad.
Yeah. I tried to stub my cigarette out on his eye.
It's mental that he played for Napoli. It's insane.
He played for Napoli?
Was it Napoli?
Yeah.
Marseille?
Oh, Marseille. Sorry, Marseille.
Yeah,
He played for He also played for Man City, Newcastle United, QPR, and then Marseille, who are quite a good team.
Yeah, but they
What's
are
he doing
French.
in Marseille? And then Burnley, Rangers, back to Burnley.
It's
like that. It's like that fucking Ronaldo quote where it's like Queen's Park Rangers, Marseille, Burnley, Rangers, and now back to Burnley. Because there's that bit where he's like, now back. No, it's like, now Man United again. Oh, I don't know, I'm ruining it, but
you
know.
fucked it. How was your weekend, Sebby?
Yeah, it was. I told you about that guy's knee that broke.
Yeah.
Weekend, what did we do? Didn't do much, to be honest with you. Just, oh mate, what did happen? This wasn't too bad, but it did frighten me a little bit. Was, as you know, Michael, I've got bar end mirrors on my motorbike, and my throttle got caught on the bar end mirror and just got stuck on max while I was going down the Julie. That got me a little bit, but I managed to sort that out in the end. I just took one of the mirrors off. No, it didn't work. No, it didn't work, mate. It was like a full trip. It was a fucking ball ache.
How did that happen? Because I swear, I mean, I fitted those mirrors, didn't I? And they fit all right, didn't they?
I don't know what happened, but
right.
it went wrong. And I had to take one of them. It was fucking scary, right?
Oh.
But it was pretty underwhelming. Other than that, I found out Kim Kardashian is taking diabetic pills to try and make herself skinny, allegedly. Cool. That's terrifying. What a world we live in. She's literally giving herself the symptoms of late-stage diabetes because one of those symptoms is rapid weight loss.
Where's Craig?
Oh, shit,
Craig!
Oh, fuck, we need to invite Craig.
Let's get Craig in.
Completely forgot about Craig. Yeah.
If we actually leave this in the episode, this will be the first that the regular listeners have heard of Craig. Does someone want to explain who Craig is?
Yeah, Craig is our friend, actually. He is lower than average. I think he's about, you're about 5'3", Craig?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
5'4".
He's a very old friend of Vinny's. Realms back from the land of Zimbabwe.
He's not my friend.
What?
He's your friend.
He's not my friend. I fucking hate him.
I don't know him.
I only like him because he hangs out with you.
I don't like him at all.
Craig, get the fuck out of here.
Well, no, we need him because Craig is he's got a very special
yeah.
talent. He does those things, in courtrooms where they just listen and type on them they're not even typewriters either. Like
he does the
calculators.
minutes.
He does
the minutes.
Yeah, so he listens to this whole shit in case the recording dies, and he just types it all up so that we can just reread the script all over again, and it's all safe. Because of what happened with the was it the Godzilla episode?
Greatest movie monster.
Yeah, after that facade, Well, I thought it was Vinny's mate, but anyway, Craig then joined the GOAT's crew. He's technically the fourth member of GOATs.
He's the
after
fourth
me,
Beatle.
Vinny.
He's Ringo.
He's
Craig,
George Martin,
and
the
Ringo
fourth
Starr.
Beatle.
Fuck you.
Anyway, should we get into this one?
Yes,
Yeah, why
mate.
not, mate?
So, the year is 2004, and Hitman Contracts has come out on the PlayStation 2. Now, I played the shit out of that game. Taking guys out silently with fibre wire, popping headshots from long range with a sniper rifle, or taking the clothes of a chef and walking in all sneaky with a kitchen knife, which is, like, obviously it's not suspicious. Do you know what I mean? Like having a knife.
You're a chef.
Because you're a fucking chef, innit? Yeah, exactly. You walk in and you just, bam, stab the target in the neck. In fact, I played that game so much that when the school teacher asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I said I wanted to be a hired assassin. And for the next 3 years, I was constantly under examination by psychiatrists to determine whether I was or was not, in fact, a sociopath. Their results?
Autism.
Inconclusive. Anyway, this week we are going to be tapping into a little bit of the imagination of a young mortal and trying to crown the GOAT Political Assassination. Ha ha ha! So,
Hit marker noise.
yeah, hit markers 420, Snoop Dogg. So who is going first?
I will.
Seb will.
Seb will.
I feel like I might need to apologise a little bit because I have taken the obvious answer. And I'm not, this isn't leading up to something. I'm not about to say the obvious answer is fucking Dumbledore. Like, I'm not going to do that. I actually just is straight up the most obvious answer. And I feel like even saying that now, there's some of you, maybe both of you, and people at home who are thinking this is still leading up to a switcheroo. It honestly is not. I've just done the most obvious one.
Okay. So hang on, if it's not the one I'm thinking of then you haven't picked the most obvious one and you're disqualified. Do you reckon? Should we do that? Is that like
yeah,
a fun
right.
little twist on it?
Yeah, let's disqualify him if it's not the right one.
No, fuck off. No.
So
no,
if it's
no.
so obvious, it's got to be the first one I'm thinking of. So I've got a political assassination in my brain right now. If it's
Snape,
not
is
that,
it? Snape
you're
killing Dumbledore.
disqualified.
Yeah, so as the wand descended from his... No.
It was just his boner.
But no. But the assassination I've chosen is without shadow of a doubt one of the most influential single acts of violence in the last 100 years. Without a shadow of a doubt. I mean that truly. It is not just an important assassination, it's an important event. I'm going to use that word that I always use. It's iconic. It is genuinely one of the most globally recognised events in history, without a doubt.
Okay, well, let's hope it's the right one, otherwise.
The death toll is just but one, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna start reading, and you see if you can guess where I'm going.
Did it
with
take
this one.
place in Texas?
Dallas, Texas, baby.
Yeah, I thought so.
It's obvious. It's the obvious choice. It's the obvious choice. It truly is. But that is what I'm doing. At 12:29 on November the 22nd, 1963, 2 shots travelled down Elm Street in Dallas, Texas at rapid pace. They whistled along.
Like a bullet, almost.
Like a bullet,
Yes.
you could say.
Can I just say already, you're off the hook, Seb. You won't be disqualified this episode. Well done.
That is the one that you were thinking of.
Yes.
It's the assassination of all
It's the
assassinations.
obvious one.
It's like being like, who's the greatest pop star? Michael Jackson? Like, it's just the most obvious choice.
Iggy Bob, obviously.
You fucking what, mate? Fucking Justin Bieber, son.
Yeah, Justin Bieber.
If you heard of Taylor Swift, Michael needs to get his little Taylor Swift moment in for this week.
I honestly, I don't know where the Taylor Swift shit comes from.
You just really like Taylor Swift.
I fucking hate Taylor Swift.
She just says how you feel, mate, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Do you know what? That album, what's it called? Folklore. I
Never
quite
heard
liked it. I actually quite liked it. It was our
gave it-
second most recent album.
I think I gave it a 4 out of 10.
Anyway, rewind the tape, alright? At 12:29, On November the 22nd, 1963, 2 shots were fired that travelled down Elm Street. They flew at a rapid pace, almost like bullets. That was my joke.
Fuck you.
Striking the back, and then the head of one of the most important men on the planet. Arguably the most important man on the planet at the time.
Probably the most.
The 35th President of the United States, John F. Kennedy. Now, the first shot went in through his back and exited through his throat. The second hit him in the back right-hand side of his head, blowing his brains out through the front of his face. I can confirm, I've seen the video, it's fucking horrendous. Didn't think it'd be that clear. Shot in 1963, but you can really see the brains. So in the moment that John F. Kennedy's brains blew out the front of his right eyeball and onto the front seat of the car, the world changed forever. John F. Kennedy died, and the world changed forever. Now, I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of the actual assassination, because greater minds than I have debated that for the last 60 years, and I'm not sure any of us three are going to get to the bottom of it.
Well, I heard that it didn't really happen.
I heard that too.
Like, basically the bullet curved, and like, unless it's fucking Matey Boy from Wanted, it's impossible.
Well, maybe it was Matey Boy from Wanted. But anyway, here's the basics of what you need to know, and then I'm going to crack on. The murder itself, obviously, as most of you know, was attributed to Lee Harvey Oswald, the supposed or the presumed sniper who killed John F. Kennedy, who was himself killed 2 days later by a member of the public and therefore never stood trial. That's one of the big reasons people point to it, go like, oh, what happened? Because he was never able to get his testimony. We were never able to hear his side of the story. There's also been a lot of debates about the number of shots people heard fired. Early reports coming through the phones of the people also in the motorcade talked about shots coming from what has now become an iconic term, the grassy knoll on the side of the road, which is like a small hill. People talk about hearing automatic gunfire, like fully automatic gunfire, which obviously would go very much against the idea of a sniper.
Also the woman with the umbrella.
There's all of this stuff.
Who's the
There's
chick
just
with the umbrella?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Oh, right.
But like I said, those differences and theories on them, on what happened, will never stop coming or changing. But what's important about this case, for me, is not what happened in that moment, but what changed as a result of it. That's what makes this the most significant political assassination of all time. Now, for those of you who don't know, John F. Kennedy was America's youngest and at the time most liberal and generally coolest president. He was almost like a celebrity. He was way, way cooler than like your kind of standard crusty old men who come to power. He wore Ray-Bans, he wore cool suits, he hung out with celebrities like Bing Crosby and Marilyn Monroe. Like, he was like a cool dad. Like, he was the cool president. He was still like in his 40s, which is mad to think that he was the cool young president at that age.
Oh.
But then celebrities were a little bit older at that time. Like Frank Sinatra was like in his 50s when he was at the height of his like smooth, cool, hanging out. Like, but the point is, he was considered really cool and very, very liberal for the time. Most notably, he was an enormous supporter of the American Civil Rights Movement, aka the drive to get equal rights for non-white Americans and to bring an end to racial segregation. Obviously, a really good thing. However, those ideas were really polarizing at the time, and while they got him a lot of support from black Americans and younger, more liberal white Americans, they got him a lot of haters. Like the old conservative guard of American politics fucking hated John F. Kennedy. And a lot of people think he came in on like a landslide. He didn't. It was quite tight, and his whole time in power, he actually struggled a lot to get through the more liberal laws that he wanted to pass because he didn't have the majority in the House of Representatives and in the Senate that he wanted. He was very charismatic, and he was one of those people who was admired on all sides for being like, what's that word people use? Like, moral compass. People admired his moral compass, his values. They thought he was like doing things for the right reasons, but they might not agree with his politics. And in fact, a lot of them didn't. And Kennedy desperately wanted to pass the Civil Rights Act in his time in office. But what a lot of people don't realise is 1963, when he was assassinated, he was actually coming up for his second term. He was pushing for re-election, and he'd actually started to put a lot of his civil rights push on the back burner because he felt that if he pushed too hard coming up for re-election, it would affect his chances of being re-elected president, and he therefore wouldn't be able to put those ideas forward in the future. So he basically thought, if I keep going, these racist fucks are going to never vote for me, so I'll stop for a bit, wait for them to vote for me, and then sort of sneak attack it, try and get it through Congress. But even then, a lot of people think that if that sneak attack had gone through, there would have had to have been a lot of concessions on the bill because he wouldn't have had a very high majority, and the opposition senators would have been like, well, can you take the bit out where they can drink from the same fountains? Like, I'll give them the money, and I'll give them, but I don't want that bit. I don't want that bit. And like, that's what happens in these bills. It's a big negotiation. And so a lot of people think that if he had lived, racial segregation might not have ended until the 70s or even 80s. Like, in full. He probably would have got bits of it through, but it would have been a slow change because he would have had to negotiate. However, he wasn't there to negotiate because he was shot the fuck up. He was dead. And Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson then became President Lyndon B. Johnson and was able to push through the American Civil Rights Act on July 2nd, 1964 in his memory. He basically said, do it in the memory of John F. Kennedy, the greatest president we've ever had, the man who gave his life for this cause. Do it because it's what he thought was the right thing to do. And if you consider John F. Kennedy to be the man that you think he is, you should vote for this bill.
I'd vote for that bill.
Exactly. You would. And it was voted for in an almost complete majority, and they made almost no concessions to the bill. And as a result, it was this groundbreaking change to American civil rights where they were no longer able to discriminate on race, religion, the colour of someone's skin, or their gender, on how much people were paid, what they had access to, including schools and stuff like that. Like, it would completely open the floodgates in this, like, what they thought was going to be a slow change suddenly became this, like, snap change, this snap decision. You were suddenly no longer allowed to racially segregate. And that's obviously unbelievable. And the knock-on effect that had worldwide, forcing other countries to then look at their own civil rights and putting pressure on places like South Africa and places like that. Like, if America changes, it does force the rest of the Western world to change with it. The second thing that forever changed was the Cold War. JFK was obviously president at the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis, widely regarded as the closest we've ever come to nuclear annihilation. Like, we're talking like fucking hours on a good day, minutes if you're less optimistic. It was fucking well close. But obviously, he went through the Cuban Missile Crisis, which famously ended through diplomatic negotiation and not through mutual destruction, but this idea of like, let's fucking talk it out, boys. We don't actually all want to be blown to pieces in a nuclear holocaust.
Wow.
When he ended that standoff through that negotiation, it changed his view on politics outwardly. In fact, he then went and met with his Russian counterpart, Nikita Khrushchev, and was actually in the process of thawing out the Cold War before he was assassinated. He was like, fuck this, it's not worth it. That was terrifying. We nearly all died. I don't want to be the guy who presses that button. He actually started to make, again, very liberal decisions to go and try and speak to the Russians or the USSR at the time and bring things down. In fact, as well as meeting Nikita Khrushchev, something that a lot of people don't know about, I didn't know about until I started reading this, and I think it's something that Americans don't want to talk about because they think it affects their memory of him, because actually this isn't a very American thing to do. He even floated the idea of a joint American and USSR space program, saying, why should man's first flight to the moon be a matter of national competition?
Wow.
Like, he was like, let's just fucking do it together. Like, let's just pump the brakes, stop all this crazy shit. And he then made speech after speech saying only America and the USSR together could stop the nuclear threat. And had he not died, I think, truly, and I think I've read historians saying the same thing, the Berlin Wall may have fallen decades earlier. And our parents might not have been raised in this threat of nuclear terror. But because when Lyndon B. Johnson came in, he had to go like, as I'll talk about further in a minute, he went like full force, gun-ho, fuck the Soviets, fuck communism. And it really escalated things again to like a new all-time high. On the subject of that, I'm just going to rattle through this quite quickly because I'm running a bit long time. But on top of this, a lot of people think that this diplomatic negotiation tactic would have changed the war in Vietnam. Another thing people don't know is that he was actually in the process of removing troops from Vietnam before he was assassinated. However, after he died, Lyndon B. Johnson doubled the fuck down, sent loads more troops out, and bombed the fuck out of North Vietnam and covered it in Agent Orange. And as a result, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of women, children, and men needlessly died. So, good and bad.
I was going to say...
massive results.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of bad
results
stuff
at the end
there
of this.
from the assassination that don't help your point.
But I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying it's the biggest.
Yeah.
It's the most significant. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm not saying it's the goodest of all time. I'm saying it's greatest
just
in
the
terms
most, had the biggest, impact on
Yeah,
the
it's
world.
the most
good
impactful.
or bad, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Sick. Cool.
And I'm just going to finish off with this. I truly believe that if Lee Harvey Oswald / the mob / the Illuminati / George Bush / Harambe had not shot and killed President John F. Kennedy, the world would be unimaginably different. America would probably have gone very liberal and then taken some terrifying swing to the right, electing a businessman or an actor or a sex offender to the White House.
Oh, wait.
Oh.
The Berlin Wall would have fallen, allowing the redistribution of oil wealth back to a select few oligarchs, allowing for a radical nationalist leader to rise up in the inevitable power vacuum, eventually leading to tensions again, the annexation of Crimea, and the invasion of one of our allies.
Oh, wait.
Can you imagine such a terrifying world? Everything could have been different. But seriously, the world was utterly and is utterly still rattled by the assassination of JFK. And my last point I want to say is this. There is no better piece of evidence than the enormous amount of conspiracies about his death, because part of a conspiracy is something called probability bias.
Proportionality bias.
And that is this idea that big consequences that change everything, must have big actions. The idea that this unbelievably cataclysmic event was caused by one man who just took a pot shot is terrifying. So people want to believe that this world-rattling event was caused by the government or the mob or the Illuminati because it's so significant. It's proof of how significant it is that people are so desperate to find a reason that isn't just a nutcase with a gun. Because it seems unbelievable that this event that changed civil rights, the Cold War, the Vietnam War, and countless American politics has been changed forever. People have been given office purely from knowing John F. Kennedy. And if he hadn't have died, he wouldn't have had that hero worship status that's allowed that change. And the proof of that significance is that people are looking for a bigger reason than Lee Harvey Oswald, a nutcase with a gun, took a pot shot.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. And that's how big it is. People are desperate to find another way.
It's like the opposite of the butterfly effect, innit?
Yeah.
Like, a butterfly flaps its wings in, like, Africa and a fucking hurricane hits America. You don't just accept that there's, like, something really insignificant happening, creating a big change. Like, you can't accept that, well, it can't have come from something so small. It has to be something bigger than that.
And I truly believe that, and this is my last point, that the reaction and the obsession with the conspiracies is proof that it is the most politically significant assassination of all time. I truly believe that, because otherwise people wouldn't be so obsessed with finding a bigger cause.
Very good, Seb. But you did forget one very important detail.
What's that?
That you should know, because I told it to you recently about the JFK.
Oh, jet fuel. Jet fuel can't melt steel beams.
No. About how Meatloaf met JFK on the day of his assassination.
Oh, I don't give a shit.
That's going to help your cause. If you don't give a shit, then...
Fucking Meatload can
you
suck
don't give
dick.
a shit.
Wait, Meatload
Did he actually?
met JFK?
Yeah.
How old was he? Was he a kid?
He was like 17, yeah. He was like driving around and he like pulled up next to the car or whatever and was like, yo, it's JFK, son. And was like, alright. And then they heard he was shot like a couple hours later. So they drove to the hospital being like, what the fuck? We literally just seen him like by himself like recently. And they drove to the hospital entrance to wait for them to come in. And then they saw them coming in.
That's mad.
And his wife, because his wife like wore the same dress or whatever for like 3 days or some shit, didn't she? Like,
Yeah, she's just like covered in brains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that crazy thing where, isn't it like Mark Chapman met John Lennon on the day that John Lennon was assassinated?
Is he the assassin of...
Yeah, he is. Isn't that crazy?
That is mad. That's so weird.
When I read that, it properly threw me through a spin. I was like, what? But what?
But he assassinated him. Of course he met him. I don't understand.
It's a joke. It's a Christmas joke.
But yeah, fucking JFK, mate. You did. You went for the obvious answer. You went like straight as an arrow. Maybe a bit boring, some might say.
Boo, boring.
Just trying to play devil's advocate here, Seb. Just trying to play devil's advocate. But I do actually really like that assassination because
it's a good one. It's one of the good ones.
It's a good one. It's one of the good ones.
It's one of the ones that gets him half charged.
Mate, it's a good video. It is a
How
good
many wanks
video.
have you had to that video?
None. And this assassination involves meatloaf.
Yeah,
So
well, that's
good
a
as well.
bonus, I guess.
Yeah, although you said you don't give a shit, so minus 1
I
point.
don't care about Meatloaf. He's a sack of shit. He's a dead sack of shit with bitch tits. He's a COVID conspiracy nutcase. He made one good album and he didn't even produce that.
2.5 good albums.
He made at least 1.5 good albums.
No, that was sick, Seb. That was really, really good. I love that. Now, I've got a little middle game. We're going to play...
Does it have porn stars in?
No. What we're going to do, we are playing a classic. It's true or false. So, I have 6 assassinations. 3 are real. They actually happened in real life to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was assassinated.
Fuck.
Assassined.
Assassined.
No,
assassinated.
And 3 of them I made up. So, Seb, you went first. Vinny, you can go first this time.
Okay.
A man was once assassinated when a killer stabbed him in the back with a knife made of ice. This was the inspiration for the theory that if you stab someone with a knife made of ice, you can get away with it.
The inspiration for...
It obviously melts.
Yeah, so there's no evidence.
That's quite funny, yeah. That's interesting.
You've never heard of that?
Never heard of that.
I've heard of this theory of getting blood that's the same blood type as the person you're killing, and then stabbing them with a knife made of their own frozen blood, and then when it thaws out, there's no evidence.
There's no evidence, yeah.
Except this big pool of blood that hasn't got their DNA in it.
There's gash, yeah, there's dead body.
No, the ice knife thing is because there'll be no like murder weapons. There'll be nothing to trace you, no fingerprints to trace you to the murder. So
yeah, no, I
it was
worked
all
it out.
inspired by this assassination that happened.
Vinny, do you get it though? Because like the ice and it melts. And... Is that going in your brain, Vinny?
I'm just gonna say true. Sounds cool. Cool to be true.
It was, in fact, false. I made it up. The ice knife thing is real, but I just made up that it actually really happened. And I did quite a lot of Googling to see if it was real, and I accidentally made up something that was real. Couldn't find anything, so false was saying there.
Cool.
So Vinny, minus 10 points, because we're doing crazy points this week.
Shit.
Seb.
Crazy points!
Crazy points this week. Seb, it's your go.
Okay.
So, a man was walking across a bridge in London when he felt
And he was stabbed
a shot
by an umbrella.
A brick of ice.
He was stabbed by an umbrella, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he was stabbed. He was like, oh, what the fuck was that? And he turned around and there was a geezer with an umbrella. And he was like, yo, what's that going on? Anyway, he went on and did his job that day, like, I don't know, whatever he does. And then, yeah, it turned out that he was stabbed. The guy with the umbrella, like, fucking that one they use in Breaking Bad, Ryson, killed him.
No way.
Stabbed by an umbrella. Well, I mean, might be no way, but true or false? What do you reckon?
It's true, I've heard of it.
Yeah, it is true. You're a bastard. How have you heard of these, Seb?
It's my fucking job!
God damn it, I forgot about that.
Sorry, it was rude of me to butt in, I apologise.
Right, you're going to have to pretend like you don't know these, Sebby. Minus 5 points, so you're only minus 5 points out of it.
This is absolutely disgraceful. I do feel bad. I shouldn't have butted in. That was arrogant of me. I was showing off because I knew about it.
Right, audience, how many minus points should Seb have got for that answer? Comment below. Vinny, it's over to you, mate.
How many minus points should Seb have got for knowing the answer?
So, Vinny.
Yeah?
A man was killed. a lot of these go in the same direction in the beginning.
Yep. A man was killed, right?
A man or a woman, someone was killed. This was like ages ago, right? He was knighted, and he was.
So was it he?
Yeah, he was having a party. He invites a load of geezers round for this party, but one of them came dressed as a bear, apparently, and he chopped his head off with an axe. And it's famous for being, he was the man killed by an axe-wielding bear, but it wasn't actually a real bear, it was a bloke dressed as a bear, but everyone thought he was actually killed by a bear that was wielding an axe.
Sorry, I thought you meant the guy came dressed as a bear, and he was like, a bear, so he chopped the bear's head off, and I was like, that's a real person.
True or false, Vinny?
You know what, I'm in a good mood, I'll say true.
That is correct. It was true.
No way.
Yeah, some fella, his name is George Janatish. He was a preacher and a politician during Switzerland's 30-Year War. He was assassinated in 1639, so it was, like, bear time ago.
Bear time.
And, yeah, apparently he asked a group of people to come along to this carnival. Leader was dressed as a bear. They said, yeah, sure. Chopped him off with an axe. Killed his ass.
Nice.
Sebi, you'll go.
Yes.
How many points did I get?
What were you on? Minus 10 because
10.
you got one wrong. So now you're on 25. You got 35 points that time, so you're on 25 points.
Hang on, what? So I got -5 for getting it right, and Vinny gets plus 35 for getting it right.
I told you it's crazy points week this week. But Seb, you're going to have to try and...
Fucking bullshit.
Let's see how many points this
mate,
one's
you're going to have
worth.
to work hard. Bit of elbow grease, mate.
I literally knew the answer before he said it.
Seb.
Yes.
Someone, this one is a woman, not a man,
A woman.
was killed. They were assassinated.
Where?
But kind of by accident. So, the assassin was... The target was this woman, and the assassin was meant to kill her. He had a plan, he was going to poison her. He took her out for dinner. While during dinner, he was like, yo, she fit. Like, I ain't gonna kill her. I'm gonna swoon her. So, he takes her back to the hotel room. They end up getting it on. And she fucking dies while they're having sex. And he realizes, shit, like, he did actually do the poison thing before he realized he wasn't gonna kill her. So she died while they were having sex, but because he botched the assassination so badly, he got caught, because now there's just a dead body in a hotel room rather than her like stumbling around the street and dying randomly, with his semen in it. So he was caught, and the government that were hiring him to assassinate her denied all knowledge of his existence, and that was the end of his assassination career as an assassin. True or false, Seb?
When you talk about these like really like where you've stripped all the details out so that it's not so obvious, you do just sound like a normal conspiracy theorist. It's like, so there's this guy, right, like from a country, and then there's this woman, right, and then he like poisons her with his jizz, and like the government,
they deny everything. Obviously.
Yeah, they like deny everything, but if you look it up online, I swear it's true. I'm going to say, thy talketh too mucheth. I think you put too much detail in. And I'm going to say that you overdid it. And that where it lost me was the bit where he was like, I forgot I'd already killed a woman. I killed a woman, and then I fell in love with her, and forgot I'd killed her, so I fucked her, and then she died on my cock. I think that's the sort of thing that Michael Davey thinks is very funny, and I think that's false.
He definitely was giggling while you were writing that.
That is false. You're correct.
I had the exact same thought as well.
I thought that was a good one.
I was like, Michael would think this was hilarious.
I thought that was quite a funny one. Yeah, that was false. So, Seb, you got, in that round, what you on, -5. Vinny, you're on 25.
Yeah.
Seb, you got, in that round, 25 points. So you're on 20. So you're 5 points behind Vinny still. So
if we both get this one wrong, then I just win.
So, Vinny, next.
Just doesn't answer. It's crazy points.
It's crazy points, Vinny.
Yes.
Here you
This
go.
is fucking shit, mate.
Here's your last one.
Mm-hmm.
So there was this fella, right?
Yeah. It's like someone at the pub just be like, right, there's this fella, yeah?
Right? And he got his head stuck in a bowl bank.
He was shagging her, yeah? And he forgot he already poisoned her. Oh!
There was this fella, right? And he died. And everyone was like, he just died, like, just for no reason, basically.
Everyone was like, he just died, like, for no reason.
When he said this, I imagine the doctor talking like that, like the surgeon's to them. He's like he just died for like no reason.
He died. These things happened, he just died.
And so he died, right? Everyone was just like, yeah, he just died in his sleep and that. But actually, upon further investigation, they reckon that he was actually assassinated they inserted like a hot stick up his asshole and it burnt all his insides. But like they didn't tell for ages, yeah, because obviously it was up his butt and like it could like take the stick and that. So like it just burnt him from like the inside out. But there was no evidence for ages. And then that's why it took him ages to be like, oh yeah, he was actually assassinated. He didn't just like die for no reason and that. So what do you reckon? True or false?
One doctor was like having a cheeky fiddle, and he was like, "This doesn't feel right."
So you're telling me they did an autopsy and they didn't realise the burn wounds around his arse?
True or false?
I'm just gonna say false because again, that sounds like the sort of thing you'd find really funny to write down.
Right, this was actually true.
What?
No, it's not.
Well,
No.
here's the thing. As I've read further down the article, I've realised technically it's not true, but technically it is sort of true. So
how many points does Vinny get for that? 1 million?
1 million over 8.
So you gave Vinny a question that he literally couldn't get wrong.
now, if he said true, I would have given him the points, but he said false.
But you said it
So
wasn't
he doesn't
true.
get the points. Well, it's not true. It's a true story, but it didn't actually happen. It's on a BBC article, right? So listen. We'll do the points in a minute, right? So
It's a true story. But it didn't actually happen.
What the fuck are you talking about?
What the fuck are you talking about?
What the fuck are you talking about, man?
That's a new low for this series.
This is absolute dribble,
No, it's
this
not.
middle bit.
No, it's
This is
not.
the worst middle bit we've ever done by such a long
King
way.
Edward II, right? He was forced to abdicate the throne in favour of his son, King Edward III. And he was then locked up in Berkeley Castle, where he died later that year. So everyone thought, oh, Geezer just died, no reason. But there was a story that was circulating around everywhere that he had a red-hot poker inserted into his anus, fatally burning his internal organs, but conveniently leaving no mark. That's where I stopped reading. I thought, that'll do. That's good enough.
That's how Michael reads the news. That'll do.
Turns
First
out that
two
the story
paragraphs and
was
I'm done.
dismissed by medieval propaganda over a number of years, but it's not really definitely confirmed or not.
So it didn't happen. So I'm correct.
No, because I thought it was
No,
true, so you're
bollocks,
wrong. So,
bollocks.
No, you get...
That's fucking
right, you were on
bollocks.
25 points, you get -1. 24 is your final score. Seb's on 20.
For fuck's sake!
So, Seb...
If I get this right, am I getting 4 points?
Well, let's find out. So, Seb, here you go, last one. So, someone was assassinated by a doctor. It was a very long assassination. The doctor made this chick fall in love with him, got her pregnant, and then, because he was a doctor, what he could do sneakily was, during the childbirth, he managed to create some complications that killed the mother in childbirth. Nobody suspects a thing. Target's taken out. Happy days. True or false?
Is this an assassination or is it just a murder? Like, was she someone significant?
Yeah, they're all assassinations.
And he was also a doctor.
Yeah, you got to be pretty clever to
So
be
they
an
got
assassin.
a doctor who's an assassination.
Well,
so
they
were
saying
like,
he's a doctor. He might not, he might have been a bit of a bodge job doctor, but that's what happened.
Sorry, can you run me through it
Unless you
again?
really loved killing people, like, why would you go through all of those years of, like, med school and be so qualified to be a doctor and get a lot of money just so that you could be like, it's not really enough, I'm going to also do assassinations for hire on the side. Like, unless you loved killing people, unless that was your
And
passion.
also, I'm going to marry... Didn't you say it was his wife? They
No, not his
married.
wife. He just got her pregnant. And then, like, 9 months later when she's having their baby, she's like, right, you got to come along to the thing. And he's like, okay, fine, well, I'm a doctor as well, so...
He just snaps
you know,
her neck.
I'll help you out. And while she's giving birth, he can create some complications, like pumping some extra juice or...
Just shoot
I don't know what he
with a
does.
gun.
He's a doctor. I don't know about the doctor stuff. Do you know what I mean?
That classic medical procedure of pumping some extra juice.
Yes.
There's not enough juice in this woman. No wonder she hasn't given
No,
birth
just give
yet.
me some more juice.
No, listen.
Her
woman
juice
starved.
levels are dangerously low.
He did some doctor shit and she died, and everyone was like, yo, she just died of complications. Simple as. He's
not
happy
enough
days,
juice.
gets his big fat paycheck, nobody knows she's been assassinated. The best assassins don't get caught, do they?
So you're saying this man never got caught?
No. She was assassinated.
So how do you know... What do you mean no? But assassins often get caught. Lee Harvey Oswald was
Nah,
caught.
none of these ones have been caught. Like the Bear Man, the Umbrella Man, none of them get caught. Apart from the one who had sex with that woman. He did get caught. That's why I put he got caught in there. Seb, anyway,
Okay.
you got to give me an answer, mate.
So the last one was false, but you thought it was true.
No, the last one was true. The correct answer was true. It's a true story.
No. It was false, you just thought it was true.
Story
Don't lie
You just-
again.
In the medieval times,
So do
they
you know
said
what
it
I'm
was
going
true.
for? Just to really finish off the absolute dross that has been this middle bit, I'm going to say that it's true, but you think it's false. I think it's true. I think it's true, but I think you think it's false.
No, you have to give a definitive answer, Sebby.
That is my definitive answer. I think it happened, but I think you think it
Right,
didn't happen.
well, I made it up, so it didn't happen. So you
So yeah, you do think it didn't
minus
happen.
$1 million. You
It definitely
lose.
did happen somewhere.
Right, at the end of the round, we have Vinny's on 24 points. Seb, after your botched attempt at out-logicking the game, you get minus 100, so you are on minus 120. Vinny wins! Crazy points this week. I
No, I
think
was
the
on
game's been a
plus 20.
success.
Yeah, that's not
I
how
was
maths
on
works.
plus 20.
Right, minus 80,
There we go.
minus 60,
Nope.
minus whatever, it doesn't matter.
You got it right the second time.
Right, anyway, Vinny,
Right, okay.
over to you.
Absolute shit.
I've won the middle
that
game.
was.
Just watch me win the overall episode as well. Just watch me.
Oh, goddamn.
And now we have to listen to Michael give an honest reason why he believes one of us after he just believed that absolute
Yeah,
shit that he
I don't
found on the
trust
internet.
even if he picks me, I don't trust his answer.
I don't trust Michael's judgment.
For as long as humans have had social hierarchies, there have been political assassinations. And there's honestly been far too many to count in written history. Most have been just to gain power or wealth, and others supposedly been for the favour of the people, such as killing a tyrannical leader. But there have been a few in the past 100 years or so where someone was murdered because some people just didn't like the beliefs that they had, and didn't like the culture they tried to spread. Martin Luther King does spring to mind when thinking of one of these tragic murders. But what about an assassination, which sparked a war that completely changed the trajectory of the world forever?
Hello.
You can't do JFK as well.
1963, Dallas, Texas. 2 bullets can always by as fast as bullets.
Hang on, have you actually done the
Great
same
joke.
one?
No.
Got him! Got him!
So take yourself back to the early 1900s. You guys remember, right? The world was ablaze with shiny new modern technologies such as telephones, woo, the telegraph, whoa, wow.
Oh, what's that?
People who could afford cars would drive to work instead of taking a horse-drawn carriage, and cable lines had been stretched across the Atlantic Ocean, making the usual weeks-delayed communication between Europe and North America now only hours delayed, which is fucking gargantuan, by the way. Another thing is Europe is chock full of empires at this point. There's the British Empire, the French Empire, the Russian Empire, and even the newly formed German Empire, which at this point is only about 40 years old.
It's an age of empires.
It's an age of empires. Sponsor us, please, Microsoft. So all of these empires were constantly at each other's throats, flexing and trying to one-up each other with bigger and better militaries and weapons. With all this thirst for power and new technology, the big European states were itching for a war. And so agreements were being made all over the continent. France and Russia were terrified of this newly formed Germany. So they made a pact saying if Germany were to strike either of their nations, they would join their forces against her. Germany, knowing of this alliance, decided to make their own alliance with Austria-Hungary, as they had growing tensions with Russia, and they would be up to scrap if the Russians threw down. Britain, in all of this, wanted to maintain a balance of power in Europe, and they were also pretty scared of this newly formed German Empire, so they made an alliance with both France and Russia too. Now, everyone in Europe is squaring up to each other. The explosives have been armed. All that was needed was for someone to make the first move and set those explosives alight.
The words spoken in every nightclub I've ever been to, "Give me a reason," seem to ring true about the tensions in Europe at the moment.
Or the infamous quote, "Let me bang, bro."
Yeah, let me bang, bro.
Just let me bang. Let me bang, bro.
And around this time, the Ottoman Empire was named the sick man of Europe, and this was due to a series of horrendous leaders who couldn't stop their Balkan states from fighting back against them and taking back independence. So a lot of these Balkan states are brand new and they've gained independence. Countries like Macedonia, Albania, maybe Croatia, Bulgaria. And due to all these tensions in the Balkans, this area of Europe became known as the powder keg of Europe. An ex-Chancellor of Germany, Otto von Bismarck, famously said all the way back in the 1880s that there will be a big war in Europe soon, and, quote, "It'll be some damn fool in the Balkans that sets it off," end quote. And that's exactly what happened. It's 1914. Bosnia is a newly annexed state that belongs to the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Problem is, 40% of the population are Serbs, and they do not like the Austro-Hungarians one bit. Franz Ferdinand, Archduke of Austria-Hungary, and next in line to take the throne, is touring around the newly annexed state in a show of good faith to their people. Unlike others in his family, Franz is actually a lot more sympathetic to the Serbian people, and would much rather just leave their nations independent and just not worry with any civil wars or tensions being risen. With him, he's joined by his wife, Sophie, Countess of Chotek. Because of Sophie being a much lower-ranked person in society, they were never allowed to be seen together in public, and Franz Ferdinand even signed away his children being able to take the throne after he died with the act of marrying Sophie. But he didn't care. He was in love.
Isn't Franz Ferdinand a band?
Yeah, they did Take Me Out.
Yeah.
Darts of Pleasure.
Take Me Out.
Take me out, da 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 da, don't move, time is slow. So, Franz Ferdinand and his wife, Sophie, they're in love, and this tour is almost like a holiday for the pair, because they're outside of Austria-Hungary. This means they could be seen in public together. A nice getaway for the two, where the two had the freedom to show their love, to be shown as equals in the public's eyes. But the Black Hand, a hidden Serbian military society, had other plans. Yes, I know it's a Lord of the Rings thing. When I typed in Black Hand, it came up with Black Hand of Sauron, and I was like, oh god, I know Mork's gonna have a fucking field day with that.
The Black Hand of Sauron?
Yeah, isn't that a thing?
I don't recognise it. There's the White Hand of
came up.
Saruman. I don't really know the Black Hand of Sauron, but anyway.
Oh, okay.
Maybe they're literally talking about Sauron's hand. He's got 4 fingers. Yeah, 4 fingers on the Black Hand of Sauron is what Gollum says to Frodo in the sand.
Cool. Moving on. But yeah, the real Black Hand, a hidden Serbian military society, had other plans. They hated their Austro-Hungarian oppressors, and when newspapers printed that members of their royal family will be making a visit to the country in June, and even worse, the 28th of June, which was a special day for the Serbs as it marked the anniversary of their historic victory in the Battle of Kosovo, they knew they had to act. They armed a small terrorist group by the name of the Young Bosnians. So on that day, 28th of June, 6 assassins lay waiting for the Archduke and his wife to pass by in their car during the parade. 10 past 10 a.m., one of the Young Bosnians threw a bomb at Franz Ferdinand's car, but the bomb bounced off the car and ended up taking out the police car behind them and injuring 16 to 20 people in the process.
Fucking hell, this has got
Jesus
Rasputin
Christ.
written all over it.
Franz just couldn't fucking die.
Mate, he was unkillable.
No, he wasn't. He's fucking dead,
He
mate.
was. Everyone's unkillable until they die.
Yeah, well, Ronnie Pickering's not dead, is he?
So what do assassins do when they butcher an assassination job?
Try again.
They tried to kill themselves, that's right.
What?
So this assassin swallowed his cyanide pill really quickly and then jumped into the river. But the suicide attempt failed because the pill was out of date and just caused him to vomit a bunch. Plus the river was only 13 centimetres deep. So the police dragged him out, beat him up and arrested him.
So he jumped into a
I love
puddle.
the idea that he's like, oh, my cyanide pill's out of date.
Yeah, he's just throwing up. It doesn't kill you when it's out of date, it just makes you throw up apparently.
But where do you get a cyanide? What's the date on it anyway?
Yeah.
Like best
I don't
before.
fucking know.
What? Where are people buying
Yeah,
these?
yeah, you-
Like how?
Go down the reduced section in Lidl right now. They got fucking loads of them. They all go out tomorrow.
Yeah, they were shopping at Aldi. You know, Aldi, shit goes out of date quickly in Aldi.
Fucking classic Weatherspoon cyanide. It's on the turn, mate.
The injured were rushed to a nearby hospital, and rather than fleeing the city, Franz Ferdinand and his wife decided to carry on with the parade and made their way to the town hall in time for the mayor's speech. Meanwhile, the other assassins mostly lost their nerve and dispersed away, feeling dejected. After the mayor's speech, the Archduke thought it would be best to make their way to the hospital and visit those who were injured during the bombing as an act of goodwill. However, on the way, the cars accidentally turned onto a side street. Realizing their mistake, they began to reverse, but the driver of the Archduke's car stalled directly in front of a young Bosnian member by the name of Princip. Princip, seeing this stroke of bad luck from the driver, decided that this was his best time to make the move. He stepped onto the footboard of the stalled car and fired 2 shots into the couple. The first went through the Archduke's jugular vein, and the second into Sophie's abdomen. Princip tried to take his own life with the pistol, but was then wrestled to the ground and arrested before he could make the shot. Franz Ferdinand and his wife, Sophie, died shortly after, with Franz's final words being, "Sophie, don't die. Live for our children."
Ooh,
That's
pretty
sad.
chilling. But
Yeah.
who heard them words if he died?
Well, someone else who was there.
There was a parade going on around them.
Oh, right. I thought you meant they just
The driver was there. The
Oh, yeah.
fucking guy who shot them was there.
True. I thought they just died right there, and the police had taken the guy off, and they were just in the car.
Just alone. Everyone just left.
Well, I've not been very well this morning. My brain ain't working. Okay.
Was that your version of like a tree falls in the forest
Yeah.
and nobody hears it?
I reckon it was. Yeah. I just didn't really think about it. I was thinking if he's already dead or something, who's heard that? But I was just being a fucking idiot, right? Ignore me, okay?
One of the biggest tragedies from this double homicide was that the current Austro-Hungarian king, who was very cruel to the Serbs, would actually die of illness just 2 years after Franz Ferdinand's death. So if they had just waited a couple more years, Franz Ferdinand, who was a lot more sympathetic to the Serbians and just wanted them to just have their own independence and basically just nothing to do with them, would have taken the throne and they would have gotten what they wanted. So in the end, they kind of shot themselves in the foot here by killing Franz Ferdinand. And in the wake of this assassination, Austria-Hungary blamed the Serbian government for putting this plan into action, which they might have. Nobody really knows. They could have. Maybe. Probably.
Cue the conspiracy.
Yeah, it's kind of a conspiracy thing. Knowing the Serbians would much more likely settle for peace, the Austro-Hungarians gave them a list of demands which were extremely unfair to the Serbs. The Serbian government actually ended up agreeing on all the demands, all these really unfair ones, barring the last one, which was, I think, basically just, we give you our country. And they kind of went half on it, saying, we'll give you some of the country, like some of the land. But that wasn't enough, because Austria-Hungary was like, nope, you didn't say yes to every single one of them 100%. This means we're allowed to declare war on you. So that's what they do. They declare war on Serbia, and that leads Germany to declare war on Serbia as well. But because Serbia was actually friends of Russia, Russia declares war on Germany and Austria-Hungary. Then France is then declaring war on Germany and Austria-Hungary. And then I think a few months later, Britain declare war on Germany when they break Belgian neutrality and march on Paris, or France rather. And this is basically just World War One now. We've gone to
Really?
World War One.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
How did I not know any of this stuff?
You stupid.
I'm surprised you didn't know this stuff.
I remember World War One a little bit in school. Like, I remember there was some kind of assassination, but I didn't know it was like fucking Serbia or his name was Franz Ferdinand or anything like that. I remember that the causes for World War One probably just was taught shit. They kept talking about like a million different causes, but it sounds like really this was like, yeah, the tinderbox, like you said.
Yeah, there were a lot of things that were set up, and then this was the tinderbox that set everything alight, basically.
Yeah.
They were kind of just waiting for it, weren't they? They were desperate for it to kick off. They just needed a reason, really.
Yeah, and that was the reason, yeah.
Crazy.
But yeah, the First World War was obviously a huge turning point in history. It was the first big war to just not be seen as glorious. Trench warfare was bleak and fucking miserable. The constant artillery shelling gave soldiers PTSD. The first time this condition had ever been seen on such a mass scale, and this led to the deaths of a lot of them because they were seen as cowards, because they didn't know what mental unwell was, like illness
like
was.
Like shell shock and stuff, you see those videos of...
Shell shock is what PTSD is, yeah.
Savage.
This was the war that made the masses despise the whole colonialism movement that the European empires were just obsessed with. Russia even made its people despise its government so much because of this war that communism ended up taking over the country, and, well, they've never quite been the same since. This was the war to end all wars. Until the war ended, and then the Treaty of Versailles basically absolutely fucked Germany, both in military and economic sanctions, and made them admit that they were the sole reason the war happened, which isn't really true. Everyone was to blame, not just Germany.
Yeah.
And then 20 years later, that caused World War II, which was the other biggest moment in the 20th century.
Is that you? Are you done, Vinny?
Just going to say my last thing of that's why I think it's the GOAT political assassination. It sparked perhaps the biggest moment in world history at that point, which then sparked the other biggest moment in world history, and therefore its impact on our modern world was the greatest of any of the assassinations of previous or later years. But yeah, that's my point.
Damn.
Get on.
Fuck you guys. This is well difficult, man. I have to decide between JFK, which is like mega, and Franz Ferdinand, which is like mega because like World War One and shit.
I think a big reason for JFK's assassination being so big is the why, because we never found out why. For example, with this one, with Franz Ferdinand, everyone knew it was just because it was nationalists, like through and through. Like there's no like room for wiggle.
I think the JFK one is just as like it's such a moment in time, and it represents such like a piece of history that I think we all kind of constantly think about avoiding, but also kind of look back on with rose-tinted glasses. It's in that like glorious Americana where they're all pulling together and trying to go to the moon and all that shit, and like his death kind of really fueled a big part of that. Like, again, sorry, another big part of mine, they probably wouldn't have gone to the moon if he hadn't been shot. Because he was like, we should go to the moon. And everyone was like, yeah, fucking good luck with that. And then he died, and everyone was like, oh, fuck's sake, now we actually have to go to the moon. Oh, Christ. Why do we say that? Because if he's just some fucker who was president, said we should go to the moon and it didn't happen, that's just on him, isn't it? Whereas, like, now he's dead. It's like, oh, shit.
No, I don't know, because wasn't the space race already happening at that point? And they were just, them and the Soviets were still battling it out, and wasn't it always going to reach that ultimatum?
But you got to remember, they didn't make it. So he said he wanted to put on a man on the moon before 1970. They didn't get there until 1969. So that's 6 years after he died.
Well, no, that's because they didn't actually go to the moon.
They were just waiting for, what's his name? The guy who did
Stanley
2001. So they were just waiting for Stanley Kubrick to finish fucking film school.
Because it's a bit of a coincidence, 1970, 1969, they were literally like, fuck guys, we're not going to make it before 1970. Look, we've got to like keep the honour of, you know, fucking matey boy who just croaked it. 1969, they were like, look, shit's hit the fan, we got to go today. Oh, but boss, we can't, we ain't got no rockets and that. Fuck it, get Stanley Kubrick in, film it up.
Yeah, that's what happened.
But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. If I pick Sebs as a winner, Vinny's going to be raging. If I pick Vinny's as a winner, Seb's going to be raging. Because they're both really good. Like, one sparked all this civil rights stuff. One literally started fucking World War One.
Which crumbled the empires.
Which, like, 50 million people died in World War One just because one bloke got killed, basically.
And that subsequently led to World War II, which subsequently led to the invention of the atomic bomb, which subsequently led to the Cold War.
And World War One was the reason the Cold War happened as well, because of the communists. Sorry.
Right, fuck it, you two decide who's the winner.
I'm going to go on a limb here and say me, I win.
Yeah,
What do you reckon, Sam?
Which is a weird one. Yeah, I'm really backing myself today, actually.
Yeah, that's weird.
Why don't we do crazy points for this?
No, we're not doing crazy points, just fucking pick one.
Oh my god. Right.
They're both true stories that really happened, for a
Yeah,
start.
they're
which is
both right.
exciting.
They're both true. They both really happened. Listen, you can't really decide. I'm just going to decide based on just like what was bigger that happened. What was actually, I don't even know where I'm going with this. Like, I literally can't decide.
Also, by saying that, you did literally fall into the trap that I joked about you falling about, which is what's more important, civil rights or people dying. Like, don't put it on that.
No,
because that's
no,
just
no.
going to make you sound like a twat. Like, don't fall into that one.
Nah, I'm gonna say the GOAT political assassination is the assassination of
It's me.
Franz Ferdinand.
Oh, you bastard.
I'm
I
sorry,
fucked it when I
Seb.
said that.
No, because, listen, it's honestly, no word of a lie, that was, like, fucking so hard to pick. They were both so good. I could have picked either and justified it and been satisfied. But I just think, like, there's two reasons why probably Franz Ferdinand. One, because, like you said, the why. Like, why did Lee Harvey Oswald kill him? It might not have even been that complicated. Like, that politically charged. He literally could have just been, like, a nutter and thought, who's the big... Like, he could have planned to kill Frank Sinatra, but then thought, oh, you know what, actually, no, what will get me more clout is killing JFK, and it had nothing to do with anything, and he just did it on a whim. Whereas with the Franz Ferdinand thing, that was, like, proper, yeah, they wanted him dead because of the oppression and nationalism and everything else, and the knock-on effect that happened. I think World War One happening changed the world more than probably JFK's assassination, I reckon.
Also, you could say, if we go with the idea of the evidence that is in front of us and the currently upheld theory that Lee Harvey Oswald shot him and he was just a nutter with a gun, you could say that the assassination of John F. Kennedy was a politician who was assassinated, but it wasn't necessarily a political assassination.
That's what I mean,
it wasn't
yeah.
politically motivated. Whereas the assassination of Franz Ferdinand was objectively politically motivated.
But what if
That's
he
what I mean.
murdered? What if Lee Harvey Oswald murdered JFK for his political standings? What if he didn't like him
Views. Well,
being
yeah,
so
exactly,
liberal?
Well,
yeah.
yeah, that's true as well.
That's what I always kind of assumed it was. What it was.
Well,
yeah.
they never got to chat to him. That's the trouble. Because he got fucking killed by a nightclub owner.
Yeah.
Jack Ruby, was it?
Yeah, I think you might be right.
Did he just kill him because he was like, you're such a cunt, I fucking hate you, I'm gonna kill you
Yeah, pretty much.
for killing JFK, yeah. Yeah, that is really unfortunate.
You know, yeah, we can say if Harvey Oswald killed him for this reason or that reason or whatever, we're never going to know. But yeah, I think that is something that holds a bit of weight in the argument, is that the killing of Franz Ferdinand was fully politically charged. And, like, yeah, it was literally just everyone wanted to go to war, but we needed an excuse. All the countries needed an excuse. Well, here's a prime opportunity. This Archduke fellow's literally just turned around the corner and stalled his car. I'm going to blow him in, blow his brains out. 50 million people die in World War I or whatever the number was. Whereas JFK, it might have been that he was just a nutter and was like, who's the biggest person I can kill for the most clout? JFK gets it. But to be fair, even if that was the case, the implications afterwards, good or bad, were massive. So, yeah, it was a really fucking difficult one. Both of you came with your absolute A game tonight. So, Seb, you get a big performance bonus. You get plus 80 points. Crazy point style. So you actually finish the game with the grand total of 0.
0 points.
Good job. Great job.
Phenomenal.
So
I'm just a 0. What I've always been. Just a fucking nobody.
mate, 0 is the best number
Mate,
ever.
Add a 1 to the start of that. You're a 1-0, mate.
Yeah, you're
I'm
a
a
number
10.
10, Seb.
You're a 10.
I'm a 10. I'm a deep lying 10.
Deep
Deep lying in your mum.
Oh, no.
But that's it. That is the end of episode 30, GOAT Political Assassination. We've had I think this has been a great episode. We've had a lot of good stories. We'd have a lot of true stories that never really happened.
And a lot of true stories that did happen.
A lot of true stories that did happen. And a lot of stories that didn't happen. So, in the end, we've come off well. But if you enjoyed this episode and all this absolute bollocks mixed in with a little bit of seriousness, then subscribe to the podcast, follow us on Instagram, get at the Patreon, because there's loads of exclusive content dropping in there now. You can listen to the full episode, watch it. We're also releasing a special Patreon-only little episode Q&A spectacular that we're filming next week, so that's going to go in there. And also, yeah, give us, I know Seb mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, but please, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, just put a cheeky little 5-star review on there. Just put like cheeky little 5-star, cheeky little thumbs up. That would really, really help us out. It'll take like 2 seconds.
That'd be great, mate.
That would be so sick. But other than that, I don't think there's anything else left to say. So, that's it. Love you, bye.
Banging, mate. Love you so much. See you both soon. Bye.
Goodbye. Love you.
Ooh, road horse.